for the Shop Report with
Barbershop Jay.
What up, sports fans? Welcome to the Shop Report special presentation of the Turnbuckle. We got a little midday matinee for you, and I, of course, am your host, none other than Double J, and I got my guy to my right, probably your right too, but he's typically always right, and that's none other than D Gully from the CO Lumbus.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's going on, man? What's going on, Double J? How y'all doing out there, sports fans, WWE fans? I'm remote here. I'm out in PA doing some work here for some doing some of my IT things for work. So we've been on location. It's been a little bit scattered for us, so that's why you haven't seen much of us as we try to readjust, as we work to readjust our schedule, so that way we get back to you. And but I'm here today, man, and we're gonna probably stick to a consistent theme here. We're not gonna bounce around a lot because it's no need, right? Because we already know what's heavy on our minds, right? The product. So, and you and I, we have been discussing it in recent weeks over the phone, and then what you just sent me on the tweet. So, man, let's just get right to it, bro.
Yeah, indeed. And this came out a few days ago now, but this would have been this is the one that covers it all. And so what we have here is breaking. WWE's parent company, TKO, is drowning in $3.7 billion in debt. In a stunning twist of irony, the same fan base that mocked AEW for being unprofitable is watching their favorite company sit under a mountain of debt. According to financial reports, the holdings group, the merger of WWE and UFC is carrying a staggering $3.7 billion in total debt, making it arguably the most indebted and financially over-leveraged company in the history of professional wrestling. For years, WWE loyalists have painted AEW as a vanity project propped up by Tony Khan's billionaire backing, but the numbers don't lie. WWE under TKO is now the definition of a corporate shell loaded with liabilities. D Gully, speaking of loaded, that ending there. Talk to me. What do you make of this? Because it is quite a turn of events.
Okay. So first of all, and I say first, it's just the first thing that came to my mind in no order of importance. AEW's debt stems from, it looks to me, in my opinion, to be the product of a pet project, a homegrown project that is still working its way to success. So its debt is more of like the entrepreneurial grind that you might see when you're starting out and you want to build a company, you got a vision, and you're working to grow it. Though you have billionaire backing, it's still very much a Tony. Wait a minute, do I get that right? Is that right? Tony? No, is it Tony Khan? Yeah, Tony Khan.
Mm-hmm.
Right. On the other hand, WWE is the result. Its debt is the result. Stating the obvious, is the result of a mergers and acquisitions. So WWE, prior to merger and acquisition, was in a much different financial footing than it is now. It is ironic that WWE is now in debt, and they were laughing at AEW for being in debt. But the type of debt and the way the debt was accumulated is different and is worthy for comparison or worthy for contrast. I'm in debt because I'm trying to grow something. I got into debt because somebody bought me and they leveraged it. It's not the same. It don't read the same. It's like building, built not bought, right? We talk about that in basketball. We talk about that in other franchises or period in corporate America. You own something and you built it, so you go into debt because you're in the pursuit of building it and trying to understand how your business runs, how to operate it, and how to grow it, and how to sustain it, all while it's growing. Versus, I acquired a company that's already a well-oiled machine, and I can keep it running. So I'm gonna laugh at the entrepreneur who's working to build something that I never had to work to build. I just only had to maintain. Still, very hardy position for WWE fans to be compared to, laughing at AEW fans, because now look what happens. Look what happens as the result of being in debt, whether you walked into debt or developed it yourself. You know what happens when you go into debt? Our truth gets released. And you know what happens when your fans hate what you have to do to come out of debt? They react. How do you put it? Is it vociferously, vivaciously? You pick your league. They reacted angrily. And look how you have to respond. So let's talk about that. What do you think, Double J?
Yeah, so look, I'm going to backtrack a little bit with what you said, in the sense of, I thought you made some fantastic points, but I've been on record of saying create this infinity loop, right? And there's, again, for those in the physics world, of course, there's one that kind of goes on top of it, right? It could go above or below, essentially. And so that was in concept. Where there needed to be some serious differences is how it was actually ran. Because when you talk about this, which leads into our next portion of it, right? I said the circus is no longer going to come to town.
Right.
Right. So now, we're going to bid out our PLEs. This is, to my understanding, why we've seen certain venues change for, that have otherwise been previously even announced, like New Orleans in particular sticks out to me. And they're going to start going overseas more.
Yeah.
Now you're hearing the rumblings of, we're not selling out arenas. When you go back, forget just the Attitude Era, but in general, there were two things you could count on a Monday night, which is Raw having a sellout crowd, but then additionally them trending number one.
Right.
And so unfortunately, what we're learning is it's not as easy of a transition with the powers that be. And unfortunately, when you talk about an ownership group or a collective, this is also why the NFL specifies that somebody has to have a minimum of, in order to be, they need a majority person to have at least 30%.
Okay.
Right? Unfortunately, it can't be you and I owning 0.01, like I'm going to be on a call in an hour from now. I'm assuming I'm hoping it's more than that, but shout out NK Tabor. If I didn't have my background on, soccer team, Slovenia, your man's got a piece of it. All right. But I digress. So with how they were running this thing, well, when we had a discussion, a name came to mind. It was Jim Crockett.
Yep.
You had Megan's uncle runs a small promotion. You have the Ohio Valley, right? You have a handful of select individuals that have been able to say, I'm steering the ship here.
Okay. Right.
Creatively speaking as well.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Vince McMahon, of course, being the most obvious in this circumstance, and to AEW's detriment, right? That this has been deemed an opportunity, putting it mildly, for Tony Khan.
Yes.
there's the rumor mill now is suggesting Triple H potentially is on his way out. So when I said in concept or theory that, yes, you needed to create an infinity loop with content, they are more than capable of doing that. And honestly, with the acquisitions now of AAA and TNA and everything else, they're absolutely able to deliver on that. The problem is this. The form of storytelling.
Yep.
This is a drama.
Yes.
I mentioned there are probably 10 names globally.
Yep.
That have been able to list that as experience on their LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Plug.
Correct.
To hear the possibility, and this isn't the first time, of now replacing Triple H and holding him accountable for these quote unquote lackluster results that have ultimately led to, as Jonathan Coachman pointed out, people being released, right? And right around a Q2 earnings call, no less. I'm sure, again, I'm on the business side of this thing. So timing is everything. So you make this make sense for me, Gully, right? You can't just I can put on the captain's hat. You could put on the captain's hat, but can we actually drive this thing?
Yeah, I think we talked about this, right? And I brought up some ideas or questions that I had where I'm not understanding where I would say I would not understand why someone's held to such accountability standards, considering the massive expansion and perhaps oversaturation of a product that we'd have to learn how to navigate versus when comparing it to the time to yesteryear where there was very little competition. And as such, you did not have to oversaturate because there was very few tent poles for you to stand. It is not as if you are being dominated by a single competitor versus you are having to deal with oversaturation and general apathy. Nobody's winning in my opinion, in certain areas of when we talk about numbers and marketing and what have you. Nobody's winning. WWE is not selling out, but the sellouts aren't going to AEW. The sellouts aren't going to TNA. The sellouts aren't going to AAA. None of them are selling out. Like all of the arenas are empty. So it's because you have such a saturation of the product that the scales are being judged by what it used to be before there was competition. In this
Wait a minute. You'd make a great lawyer for that with that argument there. Unfortunately, I'm Judge Judy here, and that doesn't work for me.
Right.
The problem is we have seen this before. We have seen competition, right? It is Vince McMahon who took over the promotion from his father that said, look, we all have a good thing going here. And the upstart entrepreneur son says, wait a minute, I'm going to take this thing national. And to the chagrin of all the other promotions at that time, only to then for 82 weeks run into somebody else for a period of time that actually would push them to the limit and had them in a very similar position that was not sellout arenas. They were right at the brink there. I can remember there was
a single promotion that was there was a single promotion that put WWE on the brink of obscurity, right?
Absolutely. And now what we kind of see is somewhat history repeating itself, not by way of what WCW did or didn't do, but more so what WWE is attempting to do, which is not the content powerhouse that I refer to, because those will pay you on the back end, right? Okay. Ads, etc. Promote, but the live shows, by again less bump, more filler, should have allowed for this to be very profitable going the other way. To suggest that the push is here because of AEW, completely disagree on that part of it. They're actually in this hole now because of their inability to actually run into one of two things, right? Which is your head honcho, your main guy, is at odds potentially with your board of governors.
Yes.
I thought it was a work.
I did too, until he cut that promo. He cut a promo out of nowhere.
Was that the closest thing you've ever seen to Vince Russo's that he did at WCW?
Yeah, it was.
It gave me.
No, it was almost directly. It was almost no. You know, it was almost directly because, see, Vince Russo, he tried to spin it back as a shoot work, what have you. You know, he played PR with it when it did not get the result he was looking for. This was not this wasn't about a result. No. Paul Levesque knew what result he was going to get. And this speaks to the idea of what WWE is, what professional wrestling is compared to other sports, even UFC. Professional wrestling is a story-driven form of sports entertainment. When I say sports entertainment, understand that all sports are entertainment. So we can talk about the realities that exist of basketball being a real sport, or even if you feel like they soft or what have you, or let's say the gridiron, let's say football being a real sport, or baseball being a real sport, or the Olympics or boxing being a real sport. The point is, we enjoy watching the athletes perform in the way that they do. That is the entertainment. Sport is the term that we apply to athletic-based skills displayed for our entertainment, sports entertainment. WWE, professional wrestling, is as much sports entertainment as any, or let me say it in the reverse to bring everything closer. Professional football is sports entertainment the same way professional wrestling is. The NFL is sports as entertainment. Boxing is sports as entertainment. UFC is sports as entertainment. It is sports entertainment, so is WWE. The uniqueness about WWE, just like the uniqueness about NFL, is they put on pads, they run with a ball, and they try to beat each other senseless. The difference between basketball is they have jerseys, they try to put a ball through a round cylinder with a backboard, and they run 94 feet. That is the nuance that separates the NFL or basketball from football. The nuance that separates professional wrestling from its others is that it is story driven. These are performers, physically gifted athletes that put together a live action comic book. I've said this before. They put together like a live action comic book, a series of trust falls. Real results, real bad things happen if things don't go as planned, right? We talk about the injury that redefined Stone Cold Steve Austin's career. Okay. Point is, the professional wrestling's uniqueness is that it's story driven, and that the fans are united in creating the superstars or helping to create the superstars that are placed before them. All right. The Lakers brass and the GM are responsible for finding the talent that makes a great Lakers team, or the Celtics, or the Knicks, or the Spurs, or what have you. There are executives that are responsible for finding talent that plays the game well, and those talented players, those talented individuals, help to make a franchise popular. In WWE, the fans resonate with, or choose or opt to resonate with, the talent that gets the push that our receptors or our response helps to drive what we want to see. So John Cena was made in part because of what the executives made, what the executive decision, and our response to it. Ron Killings is back because of a decision that the executives made and our response to it. Let me ask you a question. The last time a player was released from the NFL, from an NFL team or NBA team, how much did fan response generate that player immediately being signed back? I'm going to tell you, it didn't happen. It doesn't happen that way. It happens when that player is on the downside or the tail end of his career.
Yeah, and you're going to see a lot of that. Obviously, OTAs just kicking off, and and mandatory mini camps, right? So you're going to see a lot of those guys right on the fringe there over these next few weeks with, we'll say, pushing that 29, 30 with 1 year remaining type of deals. And we'll see if they call a new place home, essentially. As it pertains to our discussion here, you bring up a great point. You talk about storytelling. Triple H himself, we here on this very same program see his form of storytelling very differently.
Right.
So you tell me, Mr. I support long formatted stories.
You hear how I just talked for 5 minutes and forgot about it? Yes. So yes, I'll watch Casino and Lord of the Rings and name another one.
You know, I'll say this. Actually, I caught yesterday that the movie The Fifth Element was stretched to 3 hours with commercials.
Oh gosh.
I was like, wait, was that abnormal? I don't remember the runtime of the movie The Fifth Element being that long. This was really going on into the middle of the afternoon yesterday. I'm like, is it a repeat? Like, you know,
right.
Like, so my again, that's fantastic. Unfortunately, we now live in a society where they want what we'll call the speed matches. I don't want the labor pains. Give me the baby.
Yeah.
Let us know what happened and who did it, and that's what we want to see. Or fast forward, you know, the crowd of I usually skip this part, and now you get the other Gen Alphas and Betas. Potentially, are they looking to go a different direction based on that premise alone? That it's not attractive and it's more, at least to the newer audience and demographic that they're looking to reach?
Yeah, I think there is some conflict there, right? Where wrestling, as it used to be, is viewed differently. Like we have to change with the times. You know, baseball still is a 2.5 to 3 hour game. You can speed it up as much as you want to, but it still is. There's still certain necessary critical elements for that sport to remain the sport that we are familiar with, right? Too much change of it is an altogether different game that you would have to kind of reintroduce to the public. Professional wrestling and stories and pushes are vital to the interest in the sport. Let me try it this way. When we talk about apathy in professional basketball, for example, now that we have NIL deals, collegiate players are staying in the spot longer, but we're able to learn who these guys are. And then because we have eyes on them, we can then get our attention set on them so that way we can see them progress at the next level. We need to have, as fast as we move, we need to have something with a sustainable set focus for us to be able to watch and develop. Long form storytelling cannot simply go away because it can't, because inherently it doesn't really go anyway. I guess the medium.
Let me add, we'll cut to the chase here.
Yeah.
Is The Rock going to be able to tell a better story creatively than Paul?
I don't know that at all, because you know what? I don't know where The Rock has ever been creatively behind anybody else except for him.
Well, you know, I would certainly say if he isn't currently, he feels like he's got a puppet in somebody's
Yeah.
behind here
Right.
because
And-
of obviously
and
he's got
then-
nephew after nephew after niece after cousin that's currently on some kind of mid card.
Mm.
And I love them all. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah. So maybe I do have it. I certainly can have it wrong in terms of him. I just feel like with Triple H not having that same type of familial dynasty, where he had to work with, though he has his children, his daughters, right? I don't know how close they'll ever be to professional wrestling. But he doesn't that I could recognize. He doesn't have family. It wasn't in the family for him. So his creative input through the culture and the pulse of wrestling had to deal with working with others outside of himself, had to deal with judging a new talent, seeing what they have, evaluating them, and then propelling them, whether he bought it or not. Maybe in Dwayne Johnson's case, everybody's family. I'm gonna love them all. Like, who in his family is he like, you know what? Nah, they don't got it. Or is that gonna be a guy who's like,
what does that mean for the product here, right? We got a guy from AAA that has an iguana, and I like him. The gimmick works. But
yeah.
You're telling me that's getting better viewership than our Netflix show?
Well, I'm saying that they are experimenting with finding the different ways to, like, what is the audience, what is the audience gravitating toward versus, hey, we're gonna put this in front of you. This is what we have because we are the standard bearer. We're gonna put this in front of you. This is what we have, and tell us what you like about what we're putting in front of you, because we're still in charge of what we're going to put in front of you. So
correct, and that goes back to the crowd noise that was being generated recently.
Right. So you don't. Yeah. So the crowd. Oh, okay.
So we're at odds basically with creative. We're at odds with. In the product itself is starting to suffer, I would say.
I think it's starting to transition because I think this is what I'm saying. There were fewer ways to get professional wrestling to the wider audience, even 10 years ago. And if we go back 20 years ago, we go back to Ruthless Aggression era, it was harder then. It's much easier to fragment an audience now because everybody can create an Instagram, a YouTube channel, and everybody can create an app that's for $4.99 a month, and you can have this constant, steady stream of content specific to you. So 1,000 people can look at 1,000 different types of wrestling programs. And because they're all not coming to WWE, it looks like we've lost thousands of people. No, thousands of individuals found just the one thing that suits them.
So you got to sell me on this, right? If you're going to shoot on this, I do understand your point about the debt itself. But when we're a public entity now, and you and I have been down this road a time or two with
right.
these types of discussions, but how am I going to sell this to shareholders of TKO when I'm getting the bad PR from that big figure that's out there, but then also we're cutting Braun Strowman. At what point here you got to kind of steer this ship and show me that everything's going to be okay?
Well, it's because of I know how to steer a ship. You paid for your ticket and you see the waves around you. You don't know how to steer the ship. You just see these waves and you panicking. You see all these innovative new innovative ways that are perhaps they could be gimmicks, perhaps they could be like innovative in a way like we haven't seen that before, but how sustainable it is. Whereas if I'm the head of content, I know how professional wrestling is. I know what it works. I know what works. For example, I knew because I feel like this. I feel like Paul Levesque knew what's up. I know they're not gonna like this. We cut him. I know they're not gonna like. You know what? Go ahead, cut him. Go ahead. It's akin to, you know what? Bill Belichick was like, you know what? Go ahead. I know Garoppolo ain't gonna work. Go ahead, trade him. What did Jimmy Garoppolo do in his career since leaving New England? He had maybe one good year that would suggest that was a mistake, but largely he was proven right with that decision. But someone ahead of him made that choice, right? The different ways in which the attention span or the interest in professional wrestling is being driven and guided and like I said, fragmented. I said it earlier. All these shiny new things suggest panic to shareholders because they're looking at everybody else for a while just trying new things. But we're here because we know what works. I'm here because we have enough fan response and we have enough of a history and a connection with our fan base, a romantic connection, if you will. When I say romantic, I'm talking about the adventure, the sense of adventure. We have enough of a connection with the fans. We know what works no matter what the era.
Okay, and we're going to shoot on that. But then we get here where there's the rumor mill of that Roman Reigns' contract of $15 million, reportedly. They want to rework that deal.
Okay.
Then compliments of Wrestle Votes here. We're able to see Roman himself has only wrestled 21 matches in 3 years, including house shows. Randy Orton has wrestled almost more than that this last year alone.
Got you. Okay, Randy Orton for 15. Roman Reigns for 15. For how much is this contract? 15 million?
Yes.
All right, we know how much they paid him. How much revenue did it generate?
That I cannot answer.
Exactly. And you know what? Here's the deal. Here's the thing. In contrast, I guess in quite the reverse. It's skill and gift, right? If you are a certain character, not a certain character, some guys going to need to do more than others at certain things. Does Randy Orton need to wrestle 21 times in a year? Maybe not. I don't know. But is Randy Orton generating the same revenue that Roman Reigns is? Right? Or should you give Paul Heyman $5 million of that $15 million that you gave Roman Reigns because he helped make it possible? Because his creative direction and narrative built such a connection with the fans that we only needed to see Roman Reigns 21 times for him to be the number one merch leader, the number one personality, the number one tickets, the reason why butts are put in the seats. We mad at the player, not the game. You think you overspent for it? Or how about this? You paid him $15 million and he's only wrestled 21 times in 3 years. All right, now, do you think if you ask him to do some things, you think you can extract more value? Do you need to have more activation from him just because? Or again, what did that generate for the company? And because you don't know what that is, you're going to say that you're overpaying because you can't qualify, or you haven't done the research to qualify how much that $15 million to Roman Reigns generated for WWE. So you look at the $15 million for a roster, you look at that as debt because that's the only thing you can see, versus you don't see response, but you ain't looking at the merch sales. I know you got to have those numbers. Why don't you take fan bases like, hey, how many people are you? Name the five people you came here to see tonight. How about that, right? You know how every time we walk or every time we go to a website, we have this survey that we have to hey, tell me, what do you think about the website? Do you like the button pushed here? Do you like the status bar down here? Tell me what you think. Or go to a restaurant. Though that viewer data, you don't do that, but you just say that, oh yeah, we paid him $15 million and he only wrestled 21 times. We wasted our money. Yeah, you thought you were wasting money with Ron Killings, and then you cut him, and then what happened?
Which brings up a fantastic point, right? I'm gonna transition that right here. Ron Killings returns after 1 week of We Want Truth.
Mm-hmm.
He enters at Backlash. What do you say to that?
It was almost, I would say, accidentally genius, right? Even at the risk of contradicting myself from things I've said about Triple H, even in this program. I hope not that it's not a contradiction. I think it's a compliment to what I've said about him. But, you know, in recent weeks, if we haven't discussed it on the shows, maybe you and I internally, we talked about how, and you can probably, and others can probably find it. You know, matter of fact, when Paul Levesque was on, is it Andrew Schultz, that tabletop show that he has? Usually Charlemagne is there with him at sometimes, and Paul Levesque was there. He's talking about smart marks, right? He talked about smart marks and how they ruin wrestling. And I kind of disagree with him. I think they help wrestling, because if people think you're going to go a direction and you decide to go, okay, if they think you're going to go a direction and you swerve them, it's great for business, right? Which is what happened here. My point is, I believe that Triple H is much more adept at listening to what the fans truly want and responding in kind when he might be wrong. I'm not certain that he pulled the trigger on the release of Ron Killings. You brought up some contract information that suggests that this was just, his release was shocking because we found out about it, but it was just a premature because his contract was ending soon anyway, right? But
reported at that point in time is that, but my business background suggested that, okay, well, by cutting it short, writing him a $60,000 check, we'll save, we'll say $140,000 from a remaining $200,000. Just again, rough figures.
Yeah.
Example purposes only.
Okay.
Obviously, the return could suggest it was a work. There was reports that he had actually turned down a quote unquote lowball offer, and TNA was likely where he was going to be headed. So it was a very kind of strange set of circumstances that played out right before all of this occurred. Was it as simple as We Want Truth a handful of times from one arena? I don't believe
No, it was more than that. It was more than that. It was We Want Truth. It was the social media firestorm. You know what I'm saying? It was more than just the one arena. It was the public's visceral negative reaction to a guy whom was never in the world. You know, he was never in the world title, intercontinental title picture. He was a familiar face that, he was a familiar face that we all come to love and appreciate for doing exactly what he did or doing exactly what he does. And we don't like to see that. We don't like the things that we like to be so tremendously disrupted, right? It's almost like the fans of wrestling they have some ownership in the creative process, again, more so than fans of any other sports entertainment enterprise. So yes, you created, you own it, we like it, we appreciate it, but you can't disrupt what it's the same reaction to, like, remember when Vince McMahon tried to claim ownership of the IP of the Diesel Razor Ramon IP and figured that, hey, I can just put some other guys in there, you like it. Like, no, like we don't like it at all. This is not what you think it is. This is, so stop. Get Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, or let it, or let it, or leave it alone. But the fans dictated that, and he had to respond accordingly. But in this, in quite, in the inverse scenario of fan displeasure and fans' negative reaction, you cut a guy that a beloved figure. No, we want him back, and you cut him because of and you didn't like why you cut him. It wasn't necessarily a creative thing. You cut them because of the budget. Like, no, y'all figure out your money problem elsewhere. I think it's because of what TKO claimed. I think it's because of what TKO's. How can I put it? It's because of what the promise that TKO made for itself when it acquired WWE, and the debt and the cost it truly takes to do that. I don't remember.
Then make this make sense, right? In our tell me you did not just say this, say that segment. You speaking of Ron Killings, who did, as you pointed out, return. You get Metro Boomin saying, "Hey, let's do the new, the music, obviously for the new character."
Yeah,
I'll let you read and interpret what Ron Killings wrote in response.
What's up, A Broken? I want to keep it fans. People know as soon as it hits. Check out my music with Day Tracks and Ron Killings. Our truth ain't driving now. I am. Oh, all right. So I think Ron Killings is missing out on an opportunity personally, because I think that would be helpful. However, he is right. He is right. To hear R-Truth's theme, like, this is part of the reason why he's back anyway, right? We don't need nothing new, even though he's kind of hinting at it himself, which kind of is a bit confusing what Ron Killings is saying, somewhat. I understand we talking about resonance and familiarity. When you hear R-Truth's song, like, it's undeniable. It's kind of like, I don't know if you remember the show Power. I think in the last season of Power, or the second to last season of Power, they remade the theme, the intro. And instead of Joe with 50, it was Trey Songz. And it was a good version. It was a good song. It was all right. And I say it was all right considering, because of everything that Power and the series, exemplified, the emotions, whatnot. It was so familiar to hear Joe at 50. Nothing else will do, right? Nothing else will do. So they hurried up. Like, I think maybe it played for like three episodes, and they was like, "No, we just put it back. Sorry, Trey, my bad, bro. It ain't you necessarily, but it was what we were familiar with. So put it back." This is the same. This is a similar premise. R-Truth's theme, though Ron Killings is controlling, Ron Killings is deciding. I guess maybe that's what he said. Though Ron Killings is in control now, Ron Killings is deciding where R-Truth dictates where R-Truth will go. So Ron Killings is deciding that R-Truth music is what they want to hear whenever they see me come out. And hey, I can't be mad at it. I kind of get it, but it's Metro though. You know it's gonna be fire, whatever it is. I say, Metro, do this. Just make it anyway and let us hear it, and then we'll figure it out. Maybe that's the key. Sometimes you gotta ask for forgiveness before, or rather than permission.
Yeah, and agreed. Kind of interesting take. I wasn't expecting that personally from Ron Killings himself. But speaking of interesting takes, Last night, the Yeet Man. The Yeet Man faced off against Gunther. This was the result. A changing of the guard on a Monday night, leading to this. His his IC title run was 28 days, Gully.
Yep. Right.
This world heavyweight title reign, 51 days.
Yep.
Do you agree with this take here that first of all, what do you make out of all of that?
His Intercontinental title run was 4 weeks. Hey, no, bring it back up. Bring it back up real quick if you don't remember. IC run was 4 weeks. And World Heavyweight title run, 58 days. Deserves a proper title. All right, you can put it back down. What I make of it is, at some point, just like I think there's a response to the fans. There's a response of the smart marks. I think we raise good points and we make attention, and we make them pay attention. I'm telling you, man, he gets better on the mic. He's going to have the runs. Because I'm gonna tell you something like this. If you think about it, right, professional wrestling is what it is, the story that it takes. You have to have great mic skills, or someone's got to speak for you. The Undertaker was not the greatest on the mic, and when he was developing, it was Paul Heyman who was his voice. Same for Mankind, even though he was great on the mic. Paul Bearer, I'm sorry, I said Paul Heyman. Paul Bearer was the Undertaker's voice. Paul Bearer was Mankind's voice when he developed. Paul Heyman was Brock's voice. Until you can work on the mic yourself. Because this is what it is. This is the type of sports entertainment that it is. Mic work is crucial. And if you are a champion, you have to be able to cut great promos. He's not the greatest at it. He's not the best at it. And he has to have work. You can't be a great champion and you can't cut a good promo. You can't be a great champion and you don't have great promos.
Well, Ron Killings cut his hair off.
And it was a great promo. He deserves the title. Yeah, I said it. Yes, that's a huge leap. But I'll tell you what, if Ron Killings somehow landed himself in the United States title picture or the IC title picture, he has great promo skills. It's going to give it legs. Jey Uso is a great wrestler. Great professional wrestler. But tell me, name a champion in this era that doesn't have good mic skills. Name one. Him. Name one. Name one more. I'm waiting. I'm literally waiting, Double J. Paul Heyman's great promos helped give us Roman Reigns 21 days in 3 years. If you can speak and you can cut a great promo, you got Hulk Hogan in the Hulkamania wrestled once a month because he cut a killer promo. His promos were so effective. He could dictate some of the stuff that he did. He could dictate it because, hey, I can cut a great promo. I can cut a promo and leave.
So are you referring to when Gunther was in the ring with him and kind of you could see was giving him his lines there?
That's exactly why Gunther got the title back, in my opinion. He need help. Here's why. Here's why. Because Jay is so over everywhere else. In order for it to be sustainable, he's got to be good at this. He has to get good at this, or you have to give him a mic. You got to give him a voice. You got to give him a Paul Heyman. You got to give him, man. You know what? It would be great if Elias was able to come back as a mic. You have to be good on the mic. People deride our show sometimes because of stuff I make. My son got a clip of me. I stumbled over a word one time in one of our early shows. They still laugh at it to this day. It's hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious to them. I used to get embarrassed by it, but I'm like, you know what? I learned I can't get embarrassed by who I used to be because I ain't him no more. Nonetheless, you have to cut a great promo in this business, especially in sports. Because come on, how much action do you see? If we talk about it, how much action do you see? Viewerships. To put it this way, we look at even the highest rated Raw in the last year. You know, each of the highest rated Raw of every year, the highest rated Raw ever, the highest. How much of it is promos? A great deal of it is promos. It's not all action 100% of the time. That's not what we do here. That's not what professional wrestling does here. Catchphrases sell. Yeet works, but it got to be more than yeet. You got to be able to cut a great promo. Until he does that, and I'm saying this, I'm challenging him, calling him up. Figure that out. Figure out an approach that gives you a great promo and stick with that, and then all of this, you'll be right back with it. The yeet shirts with the title belts will be there. The action figures with the title that come in with the title, it'll be there. You got to cut a great promo in this era.
I am so glad you said that. You said it perfectly.
Yeah.
Does this work for you? We've learned that it will be those two at Night of Champions. However, John Cena, speaking of promos, says the fans wasted their breaths chanting for a sideshow comedian, and they have no power to change anything. And 1 year from now, the fans will forget all about R-Truth. John says he's already defeated Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Truth, and only has 19 dates left before he retires with the undisputed title. Of course, that is where Punk interrupts. Punk says that John knows what he's been doing is wrong and that the title's corrupted him. Punk says that he sees that he has to become the monster to stop another monster.
Damn. Oh, sorry, we don't cuss on this show. I know because of the long story. This is what I said. I said, listen, here's what's got to happen. John's got to beat. He's got to. I felt like this was too early. He only got 19 dates left, and he said he only has 19 more appearances because he counted them, right? When he went down the list of his appearances, he counted the promo, the night that he did that promo. When he counted down his appearances, it included that night. So he's got 19 more appearances, and the numbers dwindling down. I would have liked to have seen this later because as early as he's showing up, I don't think that Punk is walking out with that title. Don't think that Punk is walking out with that title.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because who would come to mind for you? Because one of the things that was described or began last Monday, of course, was none other than the King of the Ring tournament. As you see here, some pretty solid names ranging from Cody Rhodes to Randy Orton.
Right.
Who you got? Sami Zayn did advance, just for the record.
Okay, he advanced on. All right. Any of these other matches happened last night?
Let's see. I do know there is a AJ Styles beat Chad Gable, but that was not for this. Um, there was one other. Now, here's okay. I do want to specify this part of it. As you see, those are fatal four ways.
Oh, the first bracket is each fatal four ways.
Correct. So when with Sami Zayn advancing, it was over Penta, Braun, and Dom.
Got it. Also, the King of
And
the Ring tournament that happened that night. So you got the gray bracket versus the blue bracket.
mhm.
That winner then has another match between blue and red. Okay.
Now here's where it gets a little bit interesting because as you see on our chart here, there is a mystery person.
Yes, it is.
And that's what was announced for next week in that particular match. So who is your mystery guy?
Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah, that's
You think I'm playing?
yeah, I did actually.
You think I'm playing? He had to get signed to TNA. When wait a minute, he was in AAA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And AAA being acquired by WWE, effectively he's a WWE talent now. If CM Punk as acrimonious as the separation was when he left in 2013, if they can figure it out and come around, you think that Alberto Del Rio wouldn't get to say, now, I need to look further or revisit what happened leading towards his departure and the behavior. But I thought it might have been a bit more serious than I can remember. But I don't know. I gotta look at it again. My point is, I think he was doing great work with AAA. And if he was doing great work with AAA, then Triple H may be able to look past it to be able to put him back in a position where it could generate some great interest in it. To see Alberto Del Rio back, shoot, Rusev's in that ring. And Rusev, man, again, I tell you what, bro, like, he is a monster. To put Rusev back, if he can get back, that'd be cool to see Alberto Del Rio. But who on the active roster to you it would be a good fit right now?
For myself, I would actually go Dragunov.
Okay.
Assuming that he's able to return at this point, because it's been a while. If you remember, he got hurt. I don't see, and that's what I'm looking for right now. Is there any shot of Gunther's old sidekick there, who does very well outside of the ring?
Yeah. Yeah.
So those would probably, but Dragunov would probably be my first pick. But again, who do I see outside of that? I think all roads lead to KO. Get it? KO. We get what I've been saying for like.
Oh, that's right. He's not on the list, bro. Yeah.
What? No. You got Randy Orton right here. I'm saying.
No. KO.
Oh, yeah. I may have just tripped over that by accident. Yeah.
You did, bro. He's not here, right?
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? For Kevin Owens to win Night of the Champions, put himself back in Cena's radar. Cena got heat with him. It has a work. Remember, Kevin Owens came and surprised Cena. Remember when he called up to the main roster? He beat Cena.
That's a great point.
And this, yeah, and so if Cena's got some things he needs to check off on his list on his retirement tour, a main event match at some point against Kevin Owens, making it worthwhile, certainly not a bad idea.
All right. Well, okay. Who's the better fit here? KO. Obviously, I brought up Dragunov.
And I would just being foolish at this point saying Alberto Del Rio, but
well, you could have said Hornswoggle. Joe Hendry or Ron Killings.
KO.
I'm going to throw one more honorable mention.
Okay.
You tell me if this would bring honor back to King of the Ring.
Uh-huh.
It's weird in a sense. Like I feel like in sports, on the soccer side, in football, in the UK, the FA Cup was still important, but once upon a time, like it was the ish. This was very important once upon a time, and I feel like I'm explaining that to some folks as to how important being King of the Ring was.
Right.
If Roman Reigns is that last entrant to this, change anything for you?
It changes significantly. Well, first of all, if Roman Reigns enters this King of the Ring tournament, then that bracket, that Final Four, that Night of Champions pay-per-view is going to be huge because you figure Roman Reigns versus Nakamura, Roman Reigns versus Rhodes, right? Because obviously, if he's in it, he's going to win that Fatal 4-Way.
That's
gigantic. No way. There's no way anybody comes out of there beating Roman Reigns if he were to enter that as a wild card. And then whoever you put on the other side of that bracket, makes for some great matches there. Interesting angles as well.
So we know obviously Sami Zayn is one of those individuals.
Yep.
Zayn versus Orton, that's my pick at least, is Randy. I assumed prior to really kind of theorizing somebody like Roman being available for this, that it would be Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. And therefore getting that feud from that we saw that I keep calling the Triple H Batista feud.
Yeah.
But you tell me, would something serve us better with a different outcome of folks? Should it be LA Knight? Should it be Cody Rhodes?
I would have liked to see LA Knight. I think, I would like to have seen LA Knight more in the world title picture. I don't remember him being injured or unhealthy. It just seemed like they just passed on him, and I don't get it. Like LAR, put it this way: Gunther was a harder sell for me as a main event top guy than LA Knight was, and I don't understand why LA Knight has not spent more time near the top, near the important matches, if you will, near the important title pictures. Well, near the main title picture, near the World Heavyweight title, WWE title. I don't understand it. He got all the mic skills in the world. And in the ring, he's not boring. He's got work. He's got ability. Like, he's not a boring match to see. Like, So I don't understand it.
Well, okay, but to your point, John Cena has 19
Appearances.
Yep, he's at 19. And unfortunately, what we're hearing is potentially after that confrontation at Bad Blood that occurred between where Gunther was taunting none other than, in your best Bret Hart voice, please,
Bill Goldberg. Now see here, that's one. Bill Goldberg. You know, have we ever got Cena Goldberg?
He's 58 years old.
He still sells. And if they bring him to Saudi Arabia, he will sell out again. Right. He was what when he beat Bray Wyatt for the title? 51?
Valid, yeah. Do you like this? I mean, look, this is a dream scenario, right? That is very likely to occur. This looks like all roads lead to, Dubai with Bill Goldberg and Gunther.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like the idea of it happening.
Creative Control Gully. You're going with this? You're shooting on this?
You don't bring. See, here's the thing. Bill Goldberg is such a lightning rod of a presence that if you decide to bring him back, I don't know when you bring him back for him to lose. Like, you don't draw a guy like Bill Goldberg out to have him put somebody over, because he don't need to put nobody over. You could just assume, like, it's like Hogan didn't need to wrestle Brock for Brock to go over on Hogan when they got him into the ring. You could have done the same thing. But no, if you're going to put him in the ring, I don't see where Gunther beats Goldberg. If they get into the ring, I don't see that. It don't make sense to me. If you're gonna have a little bit of a program where, Gunther maybe gets to surprise him, and then this is the whole Rocky 3, lose the Clubber Lane, get yourself back in shape, and remind you who you are again, and then Survivor Series, we have a Goldberg Gunther rematch. I'd see that, but it'd be hard for me to see Goldberg put on pads, get in the ring at 58, and do a match and put Gunther over when he doesn't need to. Gunther don't need that, and he don't really need Gunther to put over.
So this is where I have to ask you. Long form storytelling.
Yeah.
58 years in the making for Gunther and Goldberg.
Yeah.
We got Gunther Goldberg before GTA 6, but also without, again, Yeet only having like not even 58 days as champion.
Yeah, in his first run. Tell you, man, Pro One Game improves, he'd be right back in there. That's it. Only 58. Listen, I don't feel like it's going to be Kane. Kane had one day as WWF champion. That still bothers me to this day, man. It's still bother. I knew soon as he went on Raw, a Stone Cold challenge to the top. I knew it then. I'm like, man, come on, Kane. Come on. Don't do it. Don't do it. I know 15-year-old me know. I know wrestling is what it is. But I knew it. I knew that was it.
I agree. Speaking of that, it was it. Go ahead and give us your pick for who you see going over, at least early on here, for Night of Champions and slated for later this month between John Cena and CM Punk.
I have CM Punk losing to John Cena. I think CM Punk loses to John Cena in a way that helps continue CM Punk's feud with like Seth or where Cena gets some help that he didn't ask for, but that he takes the opportunity, takes advantage of, right? I think it's going to be a great match. When have they delivered lackluster matches ever? I don't know. Night of Champions, I think it's important. It has some significance to both of those guys. But I still feel like because of the long form storytelling, because I think the main event for Cena hasn't happened yet, I think that CM Punk loses. But I would love for the shocking swerve to happen where CM Punk gets that belt again off of Cena, even if he loses it the next pay-per-view or the next day to Cena. But I like CM Punk. Well, I like Cena to win this match.
All right, and that works for me. I don't quite see it going any differently either. If not there, certainly I think the feud would continue. Gully, any final thoughts from you here on this midday Tuesday matinee side of the program?
Well, yeah, you spoke, they listened. Smart marks or not, we again, as professional wrestling fans, this is the form of sports entertainment where we have a great deal of, I think, control in the sense of what we see. Not too much, but certainly more than other sports. And we exercise it accordingly because we got a fan favorite back and doing what he does in the way that he delivers. So, yes, they listen to us. Quit laughing at AEW fans, WWE fans. Quit laughing. We need to pay more attention to the program. We need to pay more attention to the talent, and we need to appreciate the entrepreneurial spirit of one Tony Khan, even if he wants to put syringes in matches and does allow his athletes to put themselves at serious risk, even not listening to the senior talents that are advising them to think of their long-term health. But I digress. What else? You know what? That's about it for right now. Oh, no, one more thing. I'm not discouraged by the numbers, but that's probably why I'm not a numbers guy. Since I'm a storytelling guy, I want to see them through the process. I feel like Paul Levesque is a better storyteller and more giving and more receptive to the fans than even Vincent Kennedy McMahon. And which is why we got a great deal of the things we like in modern WWE, even if we have some of the things that we don't like, as far as some melanated guys in the world title picture. I think it's coming. I saw Hayes was in one of those King of the Ring brackets. Maybe this is the time where he shocks all of us, wins King of the Ring, positions himself as the next guy or the next up-and-coming guy in the main event picture. Jey Uso, he learned to cut a promo. Everything will be righted with him and his fans who love him. I like him, but I think that's just at its limit. So that's about it, man. That's all I see for right now.
Fantastic. And again, yeah, quickly on my end, absolutely would suggest this is a tumultuous time for the brand. Obviously, I understand utilizing debt to your advantage and being able to write that off. Could I see a sweetheart deal with Vince McMahon in the future? Absolutely. Taking it a step further, could I see Vince McMahon either joining forces with AEW to some extent? Less likely. But potentially we could see Big Bank take Little Bank here, because it is rumored that he was speaking with some folks overseas in order to form an ownership group to take WWE back. So keep an eye on that.
Right. It is really attractive to get out of debt. It is very attractive to get out of debt.
Right. And again, we've seen this with things like Barstool Sports. For those that don't know, Dave Portnoy was able to sell it for, I believe, $400 million and then bought it back for $1. So that's a stretch here, but certainly you can end up on the right side of this thing depending on plenty of variables. So
Yes.
do I think The Rock will be in charge of this thing? Maybe. If those numbers keep going down on Netflix, then yes, I do. Do I believe that's the right decision? No. As I pointed out, there's only a handful of individuals that have ever been in that seat, and you can't speak to what it's like being in that seat until you are actually sitting there, not in a booster seat next to it.
Right.
This ain't Turbo Man and his sidekick booster.
Yeah.
That's why they have interns. So my point is, whether I like it or hate it, I think that is the best fit for the role.
Gotcha.
And of course, we will be returning in just about 72 hours or less, but 36 hours.
48. 60. $1.
Yeah,
Well,
literally. So as always, if you want to know what's going on at the shop,
come to the well,
actually, that is a special program. Wait a minute. I
Tell us if we don't get this right. But it's true. All right. So we're gonna get it right. But damn, but something else I was gonna say before that. I forgot. I'll tell you what. Here's the deal. I don't know that I'll be there on Thursday.
Yeah, Branson will be joining us.
Right.
30 for 30.
Yes.
Co-producer for Believe Land.
Yes. Yeah, Branson. Yeah. So look forward to that. Stay tuned for that. There, you're gonna get some information that you didn't know of before. It's gonna be a great interview. I'm certain. You know what I mean? Our host, he does what he does best. You know what I'm saying? So that being said, thank y'all for tuning in, catching up with us. We'll be back more regularly, and like our host Barbershop says, for you guys, next time you want to know what's really going on, come to the shop. Walk-ins are always welcome.
Holla. Hopefully on live on TikTok soon as well.
Yes, sir.